You've probably tried to focus for hours before. You sit down with the best intentions, and within 30 minutes, your mind is wandering to emails, social media, or whatever task feels urgent but isn't actually important. The problem isn't your willpower. The problem is that you're trying to focus like a modern person, not like a Stoic philosopher. The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they understood something about deep work and sustained attention that we've almost completely forgotten. And if you're serious about mastering your focus and studying at the highest level, their techniques absolutely work. So if you're hungry to reclaim your attention and build a study practice that actually sticks, subscribe to this channel because we're breaking down the exact methods the greatest minds in history used to accomplish extraordinary things. Let's start with the first principle, intention. The Stoics didn't believe in passive focus. They believed that before you sit down to work, you must clarify exactly why you're working. Marcus Aurelius would begin his day by reminding himself of his purpose. He wasn't studying philosophy for pleasure or status. He was studying to become a better emperor, to serve Rome, to live virtuously. That clarity matters enormously. When you sit down to study without a clear purpose, your mind has no anchor. It drifts because there's nothing holding it steady. But when you know exactly what you're trying to accomplish and why it matters, your entire nervous system aligns. The Stoics called this prosoche, attention, or mindfulness. It's not mystical. It's simply the practice of knowing what you're doing and why you're doing it before you begin. Take 10 minutes before your 4-hour study block. Write down what you're learning and why it matters to your life or your goals. Not in vague terms, specifically. I'm studying ancient history to understand how civilizations collapse, so I can make better decisions about my own life. I'm learning calculus because I want to build software that solves real problems. That specificity is the foundation of 4 hours of unbroken focus. The second principle is elimination. The Stoics understood constraint deeply. Seneca deliberately lived poorly sometimes, eating simple bread and water, wearing rough clothing, not because he was punishing himself, but because he wanted to prove to himself that he could survive without luxury. This practice made him anti-fragile. More importantly, it clarified what actually mattered. When you remove everything unnecessary from your environment, your mind becomes clearer. For your 4-hour study block, this means more than just silencing your phone. It means removing every possible distraction from your space. Close every browser tab except the one you need. Tell anyone in your house that you're unavailable. Dim the lights except for the specific lamp at your desk. Remove books and papers that aren't relevant to what you're studying. The Stoics believe that external simplicity creates internal clarity. Every object you remove from your environment is a small victory for your focus. You're not relying on willpower to resist distraction. You're making distraction physically impossible. The third principle is negative visualization, which the Stoics called premeditatio malorum. Before you begin your study session, spend 2 minutes imagining what it would feel like to fail. What if you didn't focus for these 4 hours? What if you wasted the time? Where would that leave you in 1 month, 1 year, 5 years? Don't make this depressing. Make it realistic. You're not studying calculus in a vacuum. You're studying it because you want to build something, to earn more, to understand the world more deeply. If you don't build this skill now, you won't have it when you need it. Epictetus taught that we should distinguish between what's in our control and what isn't. You can't control whether you're naturally gifted at mathematics, but you can control whether you show up and study with full attention. You can control the 4 hours right now. This visualization isn't negative self-talk. It's clarity about stakes. And clarity about stakes is one of the most powerful focus tools ever created. The fourth principle is segmentation. The Stoics were pragmatists. They understood that 4 hours of unbroken identical work is nearly impossible for most people. Instead, they would segment their work. Seneca would spend time on rhetoric, then move to ethics, then to natural philosophy. The segments weren't arbitrary. They were intentional shifts that allowed the mind to work at full intensity on one thing, rest that particular cognitive muscle, and engage a different one. For your 4-hour block, try this structure. Study for 45 minutes. Take a 5-minute break where you stand up, drink water, and look away from your desk. Then study for another 45 minutes, but shift to a slightly different aspect of your topic. If you're studying history, move from military history to economic history. If you're studying programming, Move from syntax to architecture. This creates rhythm without creating fragmentation. You're still in flow, but you're also preventing the cognitive fatigue that kills focus around hour 3. The fifth principle is what we might call environmental stoicism. The Stoics were obsessed with virtue and discipline, but they also understood that your physical environment shapes your psychology. If you study in the same place where you watch videos and eat snacks, your brain will struggle to shift into focused mode. Create a space that is dedicated to deep work. It doesn't have to be fancy. It has to be consistent. The same desk, the same chair, the same minimal setup. Over time, your brain will condition itself to enter flow state the moment you sit in that space. This is classical conditioning, and it's incredibly powerful. Your brain will start to associate that specific environment with deep focus. You'll sit down, and within minutes, your mind will quiet and settle into work. The sixth principle is the practice of premeditatio fatigue. Before you begin your 4-hour block, honestly acknowledge that you will experience resistance. Your mind will want to wander around hour 2. Your body will want to move. Your thoughts will offer you compelling reasons to check your phone. The Stoics didn't pretend these wouldn't happen. They prepared for them. Epictetus said we should prepare ourselves the way an athlete prepares for competition. You know the opponent, you know the tactics. You practice responses. When the urge to distract yourself arrives at hour 2, you've already decided in advance that you're not going to follow it. You've rehearsed saying no. You've imagined it. So when it happens, it's not a surprise or a failure. It's exactly what you expected. You simply execute your predetermined response and continue. The seventh principle is what Marcus Aurelius called eudaimonia through practice. The Stoics understood that focus, like virtue, is a skill that develops through repetition. You don't become capable of 4 hours of deep focus by attempting 4 hours once. You build it gradually. Start with 90 minutes, master that, then move to 2 hours, then 2.5, then 3, then 4. Each iteration makes the next one easier because you're literally training your nervous system to sustain attention. Your brain is developing new neural pathways. This is why this matters, and here's where I want you to like this video if you're finding value in these principles. These aren't motivational tips. They're evidence-based techniques, grounded in thousands of years of philosophy and reinforced by modern neuroscience. The Stoics were doing what we now call deliberate practice, and it works. The eighth principle is the practice of conscious attention. During your 4 hours, your job isn't to achieve perfect focus 100% of the time. Your job is to notice when your attention wanders and gently bring it back. That's it. The Stoics called this prosoche again, mindfulness. You're training your capacity to notice. Every time you catch your mind wandering and return it to the work, you're actually getting stronger. You're not failing, you're succeeding. Marcus Aurelius would write in his journal about his failures and flaws, not to punish himself, but to notice them, learn from them, and improve incrementally. Apply this to your study session. When you notice your mind drifting, and it will, simply note it and return. No judgment, no frustration, just the practice itself. Now the final and perhaps most important principle, remember that you're training resilience and virtue, not just productivity. The Stoics studied because they believed that knowledge and wisdom made you more virtuous, more capable of living a good life. They weren't studying to hustle or to optimize or to outgrind everyone else. They were studying to become better versions of themselves. That's a radically different framework than most people bring to focus and deep work. When you sit down for 4 hours, you're not trying to extract value like you're mining for gold. You're not racing against a timer. You're practicing the virtue of discipline. You're proving to yourself that you can direct your attention where it needs to go, that you're not a slave to distraction, that you're capable of sustained effort towards something meaningful. That's what the Stoics were really doing, and that mindset that you're training virtue, not just productivity, will carry you through moments when motivation fades. So here's how to put this together. Tomorrow, pick a topic you genuinely want to study for 4 hours. Spend 10 minutes clarifying your intention. Why does this matter? Remove every distraction from your environment. Spend 2 minutes doing negative visualization. What happens if you don't do this? Set up your space the same way it was today. Acknowledge in advance that resistance will come. Start with as much time as you can sustain. Maybe it's 90 minutes, maybe it's 2 hours, and build from there. Then during those hours, practice prosoche. Notice when your attention wanders. Bring it back. No judgment. And remember throughout, You're not studying for a grade or a paycheck. You're studying because you're training yourself to be the kind of person who can focus, who can persist, who can master difficult material. That person is worth becoming. That's the Stoic way. And it's why 4-hour study blocks aren't actually that hard once you understand the framework.